Kiev officials have warned of a stalemate in the fighting, with Ukraine facing a high price to pay without strong U.S. support. Ukrainian officials believe the war of attrition with Russia is likely to drag on for years, despite international efforts, including those by U.S. President Donald Trump to end the conflict, The Guardian reported. Ukraine fears a prolonged conflict. The warning comes after the first round of direct talks between Kiev and Moscow and Istanbul on Friday produced no concrete results beyond an agreement to swap prisoners. Although the U.S. president will speak by phone with both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukrainian officials say there is no sign of a peace deal being reached soon. Russia cannot defeat us, and we cannot take back our territory, a senior Ukrainian official told The Guardian. Without significant support from the United States, this situation will continue and may even worsen. Without the United States, the balance of power cannot be changed. Over time, it will tilt in Russia's favor. We will survive, but at a very high price. Meanwhile, Russia has repeatedly signaled its readiness for a protracted conflict and set tough conditions. Ukrainian officials believe there is still room for negotiations with Russia, but admit that the gap between the two sides on key issues remains large. There are some real issues related to independence, sovereignty, and economic and security. Relations with Europe, said a senior Ukrainian official. On other issues, such as limiting the size of the Ukrainian army for economic reasons or the need for neutrality, it is just a matter of wording, but we cannot agree to severing ties with the West. Some Ukrainian observers say Kiev's moves in the negotiations are partly due to pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump, who fears Washington could cut off aid at any time. The president is in a very difficult position, said Oleksandr Mereshko, a lawmaker from Zelensky's ruling party. We are still trying to do everything we can because we don't want to be blamed for the U.S. cutting off aid. Risk of a quick collapse. Former Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said one of the biggest difficulties with the negotiations is the stark difference in approaches between Trump and Putin. Russia will continue to move forward. They have the power and the forces to continue fighting. Their goal is to control Ukrainian territory, and they are pursuing that goal, Maliar said. It is very difficult to force Russia to make concessions. Trump sees this as a business negotiation in which everyone can benefit. Maliar also predicted that the conflict could drag on. I think there is a 90% chance that it will last another year or two, she said. The biggest concern, according to Ukrainian officials, is if the conflict continues at its current pace of attrition and Kiev does not receive more aid from the U.S. and Europe. Ukrainian officials fear a rapid collapse once Kiev can no longer sustain the intensity of the conflict. Collapse is always waiting somewhere. No one knows when it will happen. But we have to think about the future, a Ukrainian official told the British newspaper. Some in Ukraine believe that the most likely scenario is a ceasefire, which would freeze the fighting at the current line of contact, even if it doesn't resolve the core issues. The fact that Russia and Ukraine can still talk to each other after 3 years of conflict is a miracle, the Ukrainian official added.